Jim Gordon here in the offices of the Richmond Sentinel. Time for another edition of Richmond Stories. Steve Kooner is the Conservative Party MLA for Richmond-Queensborough and the Shadow Attorney General. Steve is a well-known, successful lawyer who has had his own law firm, Steve Kooner Law Corporation, for over 17 years. He is also well known for his significant community involvement. In 2023, Steve was awarded the Queen's Platinum Jubilee Award by the Government of Canada for his significant community contribution. Also that year, Steve was named as the ambassador to the BCHL Junior Hockey Club. And MLA Steve Kooner is now joining us at the table here in the offices of the Richmond Sentinel. Steve, welcome back.
Jim, thank you for having me. It's great to be here at the Richmond Sentinel. And so I'm looking forward to this interview.
Thank you. Yeah, I guess the last time we talked was last fall, just before the election, the seat, of course, that you won. It has been a busy 6-8 months with the provincial election, of course, the federal election, which recently took place. What we wanted to do today is just to give a little background. People can get your sites, and we're sending invites, of course, out to all the parties, but we wanted to get you in to talk about a couple things I think that are very important to you and, of course, important to a lot of BC citizens. Let's start with an issue that has been all over the news a lot lately, although it's been around for a while, and that is what's going on with this extortion situation. In Vancouver, often in the South Asian community, it's not just happening here, but you were at a recent forum in Surrey. Give us your thoughts on that. I know that Premier Eby has said that he's sending a letter to the Prime Minister to have one of the gangs listed as a terrorist organization in Canada. You've got the Minister of Public Safety, Gary Begg, criticizing the community for being too afraid to come forward. Let's see where you stand and tell us your thoughts. You were there.
Well, for me, how I became aware of the issue was being a guy that's done business in the South Asian community as a lawyer. Mm-hmm. And I actually attended a forum last year. Okay. This was a sequel to that forum. Last year, prior to me running in politics, I went to attend that forum because a lot of the businesses in the community, in the South Asian community in BC, were feeling fear about extortion. And so the Attorney General actually showed up there at the last forum. That happened last year. Mm-hmm. And the community actually really felt that the Attorney General was going to take that issue on. They felt they had some assurances, and so that's where we kind of left off. And then basically there was a murder that happened in Ontario. Mm-hmm. And it was covered in the news, and Global did a news story. And I heard, and the news story covered BC. And some people were talking in that news story, and they talked about how nothing has been done. Right. And I'm like, hey, wait a minute. The Attorney General was at that last town hall. And so I started looking into that issue, and I started looking into what steps maybe the government had taken. And I started with the mandate letters of the Attorney General and the Solicitor General of this province. And I noticed that there was no mention about extortion, mm-hmm. Let alone South Asian extortion. There was no mention of extortion in the mandate letters. And the mandate letters are really important because the mandate letters are what give authority to the minister to take certain actions as a part of their role. From the Premier. And the mandate letters lead to the budget documents. The minister makes certain requests to get funding and resources. And so there was nothing mentioned about extortion in those mandate letters. And
why not?
It should have been. Yeah. Those were the questions raised. And that's why I looked at it and I was shocked. I was just shocked because it was such a big issue, and Attorney General attended that. I was there just as a, just attendee, seeing what the provincial government was going to do for the South Asian community. Mm-hmm. I wasn't running in politics at the time, And but then I was shocked now being in politics, being the official opposition critic for Attorney General, and not seeing any action. So, and then I went further. I looked at the, we had the debates on the budget, the estimates of the budget. And I went through all those documents. I didn't see one single mention of extortion.
Right. But so there, what you're saying then, again, for our viewers, is that things are being stated as to what they're going to do. I know that I believe the government has talked about, well, we're putting money into this, to address this. But you're saying is that what's upsetting to you is that specific word has not been mentioned in the discussion.
Well, if you're trying to address the issue, you got to acknowledge the issue.
You use the word.
If you don't acknowledge the issue, then how do you get the resources for it?
But why? Then why? What is this skittishness? This hesitation to not bring this up? Is it because of the specific community that it's taking place in? What is in your opinion the hesitation?
In my opinion, is that the government has failed to put importance on this issue. And that's why it wasn't acknowledged. And I've been on this issue, first as a community member, somebody that comes from the South Asian community here in BC, and secondly, as now the critic for Attorney General and noticing the government didn't take any steps on the issue. I've been on this story. I've been interviewed by multiple media outlets on this. And now the government is saying they're going to take some action. The Premier came out and said he's going to take some action. But that action, what is that action?
Right.
He's planning to write a letter. He's planning to write a letter.
Which is fine.
Yeah.
There's nothing wrong with that. But I think people are reading thinking that can't be the only.
Well, this is a massive issue. That's like a drop in the ocean to address this issue.
What was the general interest and sentiment and feeling at that recent forum, which took place a couple weekends ago from when we're doing this interview now?
Sentiment was that where's the action? Are we actually going to see this action? And since that time, there's been more shootings that have happened.
Yeah, I think just yesterday, was the most recent one. Yeah.
Yes. So people are really worried. So if you're a person that has done well in business and you're from the South Asian community, you're worried, right? Some random people may come up to you trying to kind of extort you. And so it's a very serious issue, especially when we are trying to strengthen our BC economy. South Asians in British Columbia make up probably over 10% of the population.
Right.
And so if you want to, the Premier was just on a trade mission to Asia, but if he wants to do something quickly to kind of make sure our BC economy is strong, he can start with going to the South Asian business community that is feeling fear right now.
And do you sense too, one of the comments I've heard from a number of reporters is that how many of these incidents are going unreported because the victim is too frightened to come forward? Because they're seeing inaction, as you said.
The basis of that particular statistic, if you will, is that there's an issue of trust. The people feel that the government is not doing anything or they can't do anything, and they feel that if they maybe come forward, nothing's going to happen and they're going to be extorted still. So there's been a serious lack of leadership on the part of the provincial government. And what has been done? Like, what steps are being taken? What programs are being put in? What initiatives are happening on the ground to address this issue? I don't see anything other than the Premier saying that I'll write a letter to the Prime Minister and then we'll leave it up to the federal government. So when you hear that type of talk and you're a business person that's affected by this extortion crisis, what would you be thinking in your mind? You'd be like, oh, some letters going out? Like, oh, well, what's happening to me on the street here?
Yeah.
Like, well, how am I going to be helped here? So people are kind of like, okay, well, they're kind of just, some of them have dealt with the issue on their own.
And you basically, if I'm incorrect on this, but if you're one of those people wondering that, there's nothing else for the summer now, is there? This can be addressed in the fall, in Parliament. What? Do you sense anything moving at all over the summer on this issue?
Well, the government can take a lot of steps. They want to talk about, if the government's talking, if they're really concerned about building that trust, that's going to be more of a long-term strategy. But in the meantime, what you could do is you could set up a hotline, anonymous hotline. By doing that, the government will show the people, the South Asian people, that look, they are making a tangible, they're making a tangible action. Right? And that sends a message of leadership that the government is taking note. The government is with the South Asian community. Do not fear. The government is with the people.
And I mentioned off the top that it's not just happening here. I cite my former hometown from a number of years ago, Brampton, Ontario. Are you looking at what, say, the provincial government in Ontario are doing and the city of Brampton are doing? Are they doing things differently? Are they doing things more effectively? Have you been able to see that? Is there an answer? Are they in the same situation as we seem to be out here?
There seems to be a national RCMP task force that was put together from back east. But the BC government needs to take initiative here and have something that's BC based that can help that national RCMP task force, right? Because a big part of the problem is the people that are being affected by the extortion crisis, as we just discussed. A lot of them have paid out.
Right.
And so there needs to be something shown from the BC government that the BC government is with the people, and then the people have to feel that confidence. Otherwise, there might be more and more victims into the near future.
Moving from that to something that is equally dear to your heart, and that is Bill M213, known as the Drug Use Prevention Education in Schools Act. You introduced this recently. Tell our viewers who may not be up to speed on what that's all about.
Well, I think the title explains it. All right, so it deals with drug use prevention education in Schools Act. So basically, we want to prevent our youth from trying drugs.
Right.
We want to prevent them from using it or trying it in the first place. You know, I had a family member that was very close to me many years ago that passed away from substance abuse issues. And I know how it can, if somebody's abusing substances, I know how it can affect the family situation, how it can affect the social situation, how it could lead to consequences. And what I've also heard while I was, running in my own campaign from the community, I heard that more needed to be done with prevention. And people like, please do something about preventing drug use in the first place. And and then after getting elected, one thing I did was I went event to event within my constituency and in Richmond in general, explaining to people that I was working on this issue. Please come forward to me, please talk to me, please let me know how I can help. And I did a lot of that. I did a lot of consulting, and then I spoke to stakeholders as well. And basically that resulted to me working on this bill, which is M213.
Right.
It's a private member bill that was brought forward by myself, called the Drug Use Prevention Education in Schools Act. And so basically that bill was presented in the legislature, and it has passed first reading, but it will go to second reading in the fall.
Right.
Right. And so what this bill will do is essentially will make it mandatory in the curriculum in these schools to actually teach about drug use prevention.
Right.
Right. So and it'll be reportable. So like the school districts will have to report to the responsible minister as well on an annual basis to show how the program is being implemented.
Okay. Okay, let's talk about your party, the Conservative Party, for which you were an MLA. Even with a coalition, say, of the non-NDP members, you still wouldn't have enough. You'd be short one. What are your plans to hold the government accountable, which is what you're there to do, but also what we citizens should be doing. I think, as I said to you before, one of the things I like that you do is you're front and center, you're in front of the cameras, you're in front of the microphones, you're doing print, digital, you're doing things like this. I want more politicians doing this. Talk about your plans and what you want to do as a person, an MLA, but also as a party over the next year.
Well, we're serving as the official opposition, and we need to be doing what we are doing. We've been very effective. We've accomplished a lot during this past session, and I can tell you, I worked on Bill 7, and I debated the Attorney General. That debate lasted maybe 40 or 50 hours over 9 legislative days. And that was holding the government accountable. That people, when Bill 7 came out, they heard about it. The government's going to be able to change whichever law they want.
And again, for our viewers, just maybe a brief description, sorry to interrupt you, of Bill C7.
Well, the Bill 7, referred to as the Economic Stabilization Tariff Response Act, was a bill that was introduced by the government. And the government introduced that bill because they stated that they needed the tools in that bill to deal with tariffs. But that bill did so much more than just deal with the subject matter of tariffs.
Right.
In regards to the tariffs, they actually really qualified that part of it and watered it down in terms of how effective it could actually be in terms of lowering interprovincial trade barriers. And that bill could have been, that part of the bill could have been stronger to actually deal with removing interprovincial trade barriers. But there were other parts to that bill that had a lot of scrutiny and a lot of people opposed. There was one part of the bill that the government backed down because there was a lot of pressure. That was part 4 of the bill. Basically allowed the government to essentially change any laws through cabinet. So if there was a law that they would not agree with, and they could go to their cabinet, and then through regulation, they could change that law. And people are like, well, what's the purpose of having having elected members to the Legislative Assembly, and what's the purpose of legislative debate if somebody could just do that through the cabinet? Right. So there was a lot of opposition, and the official opposition was holding the government accountable, and the government eventually backed out from part 4 of it. They didn't go through with part 4 of that particular bill. And then throughout the other parts, there was a vigorous debate on what the government was trying to do with the other parts. So there was a lot of debate, and as a result of that particular debate, the government, they did something very surprisingly. They forced closure on debates. And said that there was going to be a vote on all the bills that they wanted to pass by a certain date of May 28th.
Getting it done for the summer.
So they didn't like how Bill 7 was being debated, and they didn't like how they were being held accountable. And I was leading that debate on Bill 7 against the Attorney General. And so I think the public wants to see more of that. They want to see what they saw in this last legislative session. They want the government to be held accountable effectively. And I think there's been lots of examples. I just gave you one example of something that I worked on. And they also want to see good ideas introduced to the legislature, which I introduced a bill that had roots within my constituency. And so that's, I think, what we're on the right track. We need to do more of it, and we're being effective here.
See the viewers out there that can get in touch with you or their MLA. I'm assuming you would encourage that for viewers, for the voters out there, that the people in your position do listen to the constituents.
Well, I am very engaged with my constituents, and I do ask my constituents, please do talk to me. And a prime example of that is my bill, right? Which the roots were based in the community. And that was as a result of my constituents talking to me, as a result of people saying that, look, if you get elected, please bring forward a solution to this, the drug use problem.
Right.
We need prevention education. So that's as a result of listening to constituents. And that's what led to introducing that legislation.
Okay. Hey, we appreciate you coming in. Where can people find out more information on you in terms of getting in touch with you?
Well, reach out to my constituency office. It's located on Bridgeport, close to number 5 road here in Richmond. So that's probably they can come and visit. And also email is great as well for those people that...
Which we'll put up on the screen here below us. Excellent. Okay.
Yes, yes.
Okay. Hey, one thing I got on a non-political point before we let you go. I did not know this about you, but you were born into an iconic music family that your father is a former superstar Punjabi recording artist, had many hit songs in the 80s.
That's correct. My dad had about 3 or 4 like really super hit songs. Yeah. He was the first, I guess the first Indian artist from North America to make it big.
Yeah.
He was a EMI recording artist. And you know EMI was a
very
really
big
big
in the day,
label.
Yeah.
And so I grew up with that, and I grew up with a lot of meeting a lot of different artists from the Punjabi music scene. I believe my father opened a lot of doors for a lot of local artists. And so yeah, it gave me, I think what I inherit from my father is a creative personality that helped me in my legal career.
Yeah.
In terms of coming up with legal arguments and that sort of things, or just coming up with solutions. I don't have the singing voice that my father's had, but what I do, I think, have is a kind of inherited part of his creative personality.
We appreciate you taking the time to come into the offices here at the Richmond Sentinel to chat with us, Steve. Steve Kooner is the Conservative Party MLA here in Richmond for Richmond-Queensborough. He's also the Shadow Attorney General. We will be sending invites out to all party members who are in this neighborhood. We'd love to hear from them, and we'd like to hear from you. Please reach out if you have any questions here at the Richmond Sentinel. Steve Kooner, thank you very much.
Thank you, Jim.